Howdy meeps, I'm Rigaroga and you're you, and that's how it should be, and there's somebody beeping outside. Great, how wonderful. And I've got a cat. This is Ranga. Ranga, say hello. Say hello. Say hello to the beeps. Hello. Meow. Okay, okay, you can see. So, she's super fidgety. She's not going to stay in my lap for very long, I don't think. But maybe. Sometimes she does. Sometimes she does. Yeah, so today I'm going to be trying to do Ironsworn Starforged, the playtest kit number 1, the Pew Pew Playtest, and we're going to see how it goes. And so let's switch over and just take a look really quickly. This is essentially a set of slides that the Shawn Tomkin account tweeted out. And I'm going to try really hard not to spill. Oh my god, no, 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 cat, no, 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 no. Okay, come on. Yeah, okay, okay. So anyhow, so this is the playtest number 1 that got tweeted out. You can download it yourself. Just go to the Twitter account and check it out. It's probably also in the Discord and whatnot. So this is really like the first sort of playtesty look. We got to look at the positional combat that we'll see in a moment. But what is this thing, right? Ironsworn Starforge is an in-development supplement for the Ironsworn tabletop role-playing game. This playtest kit is the first in a series of small modules to introduce and test specific mechanics and scenarios. Development is very early, and everything is highly subject to change. The Pew Pew Playtest Kit introduces some modifications to Ironsworn combat mechanics, along with combat talent assets for firearms. It contains only the elements needed to play a quick combat scenario. Stay tuned for additional assets and new scenarios. For this initial kit, there are minimal instructions. Part of the purpose of this playtest is to identify which moves and mechanics need detail and clarification. If you'd prefer to wait for a more robust playtest, as if, introducing other aspects of play, please do. Not a chance. For playtest feedback, questions, and discussion, please join the Ironsworn Discord. And to learn more about Ironsworn, if you don't already know what it is, then just head to ironswornrpg.com. And let's take a look. The first thing is a character stuff. And it's really, there's nothing new here it's a minimal character sheet for Ironsworn. It's not really, there's nothing new to talk about, really. A playtest log for narrative stuff. Now, here is the meat of this playtest. This is the positional combat that the Shawn Tomkin account tweeted out a while ago that was just really, really cool and exciting. I think a lot of people got really excited about this. So let's talk about this really quick. This is sort of a minimal suggestive tactical map, like I sort of have been working on for my playthroughs, and it includes a bunch of really neat stuff. Now, what you're looking at is sort of a positional map. The little blue markers are intended to be to represent your character in initiative and out of initiative. If you're playing with more than one player, that's not going to be a really good way to keep track. Hi, you wanna be a shoulder kitty? Go ahead. There you go. Don't show the butt to the camera. Don't show your butt to the camera. Come on, come on. Hi, parrot kitty. How you doing? So I'm gonna probably do something slightly different than that. In fact, what I'm probably going to do is use fudge dice, and the plus will be in initiative and the negative will be out of initiative, and then I'll have different colors to represent different characters or whatnot. So let's take a look. The position is kind of like ICRPG as far as the banana goes. Like, so there's far, there's near and close, and that's at a distance at the top. which is using wits, which the stat for for ranged combat. On the move is edge, and that's sort of the mezzo area where stuff happens, but you're not at range, and you're not on one-on-one sort of hand-to-hand combat kind of area. And then in close is the actual, like, in contact, and you're using iron, your physical strength and whatnot. So that's the grappling in close, hand-to-hand melee combat. Now, there's some other stuff that's really interesting here, too. When I was doing my minimal suggestive tactical maps, I was trying to sort of play with this idea of the known known, the known unknown, the unknown known, and the unknown unknown, meaning the things that you can see in front of you and you know about, the things that are in front of you that are stealthed or whatever. There's stuff that you know is there, but you can't really see very well. And then there's stuff that you don't know about, and you can't see. And there's two positions on the side here, one for sort of stealth hidden. And then there's taking cover, which is sort of a new status marker, a new slider on the character sheet. And it's how much cover are you under. So you can see that they're there, or you know that they're there, but they're behind some sort of shieldy thing. And then the next thing is super cool, and it's in a bad spot. Now you'll notice in that little corner down there, it has +0. What that means is that you can't use any of your stats to help you out with the roll. So the rolls are balanced to do weak hits. And so what this means is you're more likely to get a weak hit or worse than you would in any other situation. The only thing you could use is assets or something like that, things like that to help you out. But you can't use your stats, which is a really interesting thing. And that represents things like, if you're in the mezzo area and you pay the price, you may go into a bad spot, like you slip. And so you're in the mezzo area, but you're more easy to hit now because you can't move as quickly. Or you're in close and you pay the price and you go into a bad spot, meaning like you get grappled. Like in an MMA, you've got a clamp. You're in a lock. Various stuff like that. Really an interesting twist on this. And as a positional map, minimally suggestive tactical map, this is super, super cool. Now, on the edge here, we're going to talk a little bit about initiative. So the check mark, like you see with those blue dots, is when you have initiative. And when you have initiative, you are in control and taking proactive actions to achieve your objectives. You may make such moves as get in position to seize ground or change your approach. You can strike to attack, secure an advantage. That should all be in italics on there. Secure an advantage. To gain leverage or set up another action. Face danger to overcome an obstacle or escape this fight. Aid your ally, which I probably won't use because I'm not going to have an ally in this one, I don't think, to boost your ally. Compel, to convince your foe to stand down or surrender or join your side. Something sort of, that's the social combat move. And in the fight, when you have advantage, is you take decisive action to just shut this fight down. When your foe has initiative, which is the X on one of those, that little blue marker when it is on the X side, and that would make a neat flip token. And that's actually what made me think of using fudge dice for it. So that's probably what I'm going to use. But it would be neat to have like a little token that has a plus and a check side, or an X and a check side. But again, you've got to find also a way to represent that with multiple characters if you're not playing solo. So I'm not sure. Like, maybe those will be the initiative, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe tokens would have two sides, and Oh, it'd be interesting, like how Firefly, the tabletop adventure game, does it. Is that they have the two figures. One is the action, the sort of heroic figure, and the other one is the at rest figure. And so you would actually have those two figures to represent when you have initiative and when you don't have initiative. That's actually really cool. That's a really cool idea. I like that. So you have two minis to represent your character. One represents when they have initiative. Oh, cool. That's a cool idea. Okay, so when your foe has initiative, they are in control and taking actions which force you to react. You may make such moves as, or make moves such as, get in position to defend your position, get out of harm's way, or situate yourself in an unfavorable position. I think that should read situate yourself while in an unfavorable position, to be more clear. Clash is to fight back. Fight danger to avoid a threat, focus on defense, or flee. And then the social combat, compel, is to convince your foe to accept your surrender. Turn the tide once per fight is to steal the initiative back from your foe, which is a cool heroic move. Really neat. Yeah, and I gotta keep that in mind. I know that's going to be a pivotal, really cool thing to do in a fight, and so we'll see. I didn't use it in my previous playthrough, and I keep thinking that would be a really cool thing to play through. A really cool move to use as I go into combat. So let's take a look really quickly now on to the actual scenario. The scenario number 1: encounter at Rockstorm. The location. This asteroid field is the remains of a planet, shattered in some ancient cataclysm. Magnetic anomalies keep the fragments in constant chaotic motion, and only the foolhardy dare venture here. It is a perilous expanse of soaring, spinning, and colliding rocks. Why are you here? Why you're here? You came in search of a ship said to be lost in the debris field. It's carrying valuable cargo you've sworn to retrieve. A stolen reliquary containing the bones of a long-dead religious leader. Okay, so that's really interesting to me. That has a very almost Warhammer 40k kind of feel. So that's a really interesting thing, because I had been thinking of this more as like Star Frontier or Firefly, that kind of sort of gritty noir kind of, or I guess Star Frontier isn't gritty and noir, but not the sort of high fantasy kind of Warhammer world, but this kind of idea of having a stolen reliquary is anyhow really cool and interesting idea. So I think that's definitely part of the work that to me suggests that in the workbook, the world building, that you're sort of going to decide, are you sort of science fantasy? Are you high fantasy? Are you sort of grim, dark sci-fi? Are you noir? Or are you like really gritty, realistic traveler kind of stuff? And so that's going to be interesting to explore, like the differences. I think I'm going to be probably thinking more, for me personally, this is sort of off topic, but I think for me it's going to be more of like a sort of David Brin uplift war kind of expanse, smashing them together and sort of coming up with something. So we'll see. Kind of Eclipse phasey, actually, maybe in a way. Come on up. Hi. Yeah. So the setup. You left your own ship safely at the edge of Rockstorm, and are moving through this maelstrom in a patched together EV suit with a twitchy maneuvering pack. It ain't pretty, but it's all you've got. The foe. You're ambushed by a pack of 3 cultists who are after the reliquary for their own purposes. They've got armored EV suits with integrated thrusters and wield slug rifles and knives. They mean to end you. This pack is a formidable foe, 1 progress per harm, and inflicts 3 harm. And getting started. Set your character's stats, pick 1 combat talent, envision how the fight begins, and enter the fray. Cover here is cluttered, edge +2. Carry whatever weapon is represented by your combat talent along with a backup weapon of your choice. A bladed weapon, a pistol, a cutting torch. All weapons are deadly 2 harm. Now, the other thing that's on this sheet is the progress track. And this is fundamentally the same as in sort of canonical Ironsworn. The other interesting thing, though, is the way that they're called tokens. Use these tokens to mark progress 1, 2, 3, and 4 ticks. For this scenario, you'll just need the full star to mark your current progress against this formidable foe. That's really interesting. That star shape. You could totally 3D print little markers like that. Like risk. Oh, do I have risk here somewhere? Are there 4 sizes of risk tokens? Oh, I'd have to look. Hold on. Okay, no such luck. I don't have risk on my pile. It must be one of the ones that I've lost over the years. But that would be really interesting. You could 3D print those. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do something a little bit different that I'll talk about, and I'm going to actually use a 6-sided die to represent that. I'll talk about that in a second. But that's something that I'm going to think about doing as I go forward with Ironsworn. The adventure moves that we've got available are Face Danger and Secure an Advantage. I think these are mostly similar. There might be a little, slightly different, slight differences. Like, for example, get in a position. That's going to be new because it has in a bad spot on it. So get in position. When you move into position, defend your position or are forced into a new position, envision the situation and your approach. You can take cover to roll plus cover. And you're on move, roll edge, enclose iron, hidden, shadow, at distance, wits. On a hit, you're in position. When you roll plus position, use the associated stat. Okay. So sometimes we'll see plus position, and what that means is on the positional combat map, whichever stat is mentioned there is what you'll use. The stat of that position. On a strong hit, your position puts you in control. Take +1 momentum, and you have initiative. On a weak hit, your position is imperiled. Your foe has initiative. On a miss, you are in a bad spot. Your position is +0. If you were already in a bad spot, in a bad spot, pay the price. Your foe has initiative. It's interesting because it's somewhat ambiguous whether your foe has initiative applies to if you were already in a bad spot or not. But I think it applies to all of it. Because obviously weak hit, your foe has initiative, and then on a miss, your foe also would gain initiative. But the wording is a little bit... endure harm, endure stress, face desolation. I think face desolation, face death. I don't think that's the same move. I could look, but I think face death is a different name, and face desolation is from the delve. moves. But I think mostly those are the same. One thing that's interesting on this is that these are combat talents for this playtest, but the way in which it's presented actually covers some of these, the text, which is a little weird to me. And it's not presented in a way that's really easy to do, sort of print and play. So I can't print that sheet out and then cut it out, which is a little bit annoying. But those are our combat talents. You can wield a rifle. You can wield a pistol. You can wield a heavy ranged weapon, or you can wield a bladed weapon. Yeah, what I'm trying to figure out is what sort of character I want to play. And I have an idea. I think I'm going to go with a sharpshooter, which is a little weird because it doesn't set me up to be a sharpshooter when I'm ambushed, I don't think. I'm kind of metagaming here, which I've got to stop doing. I gotta not metagame. Okay. But those are the things, the combat talents that are Blade Master. I think is similar, but Gunner, Gunslinger, and Sharpshooter. Sharpshooter is one of the combat talents, but it's with a bow, I think. But Gunslinger and Gunner are completely new. So Sharpshooter is the sniper. Gunslinger is the sort of Han Solo. Gunner is the sort of clone trooper, the heavy clone trooper, and then Blade Master is the space ninja. Okay, so let's talk about, again, this is the last slide of the playtest. Starforged introduces a positioning system to Ironsworn combat, which is super cool. Your position represents your current approach and physical location. At the beginning of a fight, you get in position to establish your starting position. You will then make the get in position move during the fight to change your position. You may also need to make the move to hold your position against a danger or determine how you fare when circumstances force you into a new position. When your position is referenced in a move or asset, you'll see it as an underlined text. When you get in position, drop your token on the appropriate position as a reference. Mark your position with the check mark when you have initiative and with the X when you do not. Which makes this demo picture a little confusing because there's actually, technically, there's 3 characters on the sheet. And two have initiative and 1 doesn't. It's really weird. Because initiative is party-based, right? I mean, I've only played solo, but I'm thinking about... I've been thinking about Gabby and the gang, and when they play initiative, is party based, right? So everybody has the initiative or not? I don't know. I mean, if you were to use the mini version that I was talking about, like in Firefly Adventures, if you had 2 minis. You could track that individually. I think that might be really interesting because that would actually change like how each player would go around. And that would actually, in co-op, that would actually make finishing the fight a little bit easier because you'd go through... I don't know. That's... okay, that's a balance issue. So, like, let me finish the thought. If you have 3 characters, and one of them has initiative, they could end the fight. Whereas the other 2 could be out of initiative. They could have paid the price, rolled a move that took them out of initiative order, or out of initiative. So then that would make, like, the more people you have in your party, the easier it is to end a fight. But that's kind of realistic, though, right? Like, if you had a squad, and three of them were downed and self-reviving or whatever, and you had one person left who had initiative, they could try to end the fight by, spraying down whatever opponents are left. That's actually kind of cool. It makes having a squad way cooler. Like, you might actually want to play more than one character, even if you're playing solo, if you were doing it that way. Oh, that's kind of cool. That makes me want to have a squad. Like, actually to have Firefly and, like, you have your crew. How many people are you going to take on, with you? Okay, so that's something I got to think about. It's a lot more to track when you've got more characters. Believe me. If you watched some of my other playthroughs, especially like the Stranger Things playthrough, where I play all the characters, it gets really confusing. I guess I managed to do it pretty well. I've only been thinking about Ironsworn as actually a solo, like a single player playthrough. And then, any other characters that I might have with me would be assets or something like that. But this makes me think that, I might want to do like a squad based kind of party. Okay. So, anyhow, what's cool about that is that this is just the playtest, number one, and I'm already sort of thinking about a whole bunch of stuff that I never even considered bringing in to Ironsworn. And that's pretty cool. So, the connecting lines between positions are suggestive. Shifting from one position to another will often first require that you go on the move. If you are hidden, you can likely sneak up on your foe and get in close. This will vary as appropriate to the nature of the battlefield and your foes. When you are on the move, you can use the dots to represent a complex traversal from one area of the battlefield to another. So that's actually, sort of accumulated effort. And that's actually one of the new things that's on this that wasn't on the initial version that was tweeted out, is that there are those three circles under on the move. That's, I think, the main and singular change of this position, this sort of suggestive map. And so it represents complex traversal from one area of the battlefield to another. For example, to get in close across hazardous or expansive terrain, you may have to get in position 3 times, each time moving your marker 1 dot from the left to the right. So in this playthrough, like, for example, we've got an expansive space. So if it were complex, maybe my character, in order to get hidden or undercover, would have to be on the move as they're ambushed and then make 3 get in position rolls. Okay. So the value for cover is set when you enter the fray. When you are taking cover, you can put your marker on the appropriate value as a reminder. Oh, okay. So enter the fray. When you wade into combat, you are forced into a fight. So this is a change from enter the fray in our, stock Ironsworn. The set value of cover, as appropriate to the battlefield. Clear, cover is edge 0. Sparse is edge +1. Cluttered is edge +2. Obstructed is edge +3. Okay, so that plays back to this instructions that I didn't quite understand when I read it. Where is it? Oh, okay. So getting started. Cover here is cluttered, which is edge +2. So that was terminology I sort of glossed over, but didn't quite understand. So enter the fray. Edge +2 is what we set with our cover stat. It's status, like supply. How much cover do you have? So you enter the fray, and then you get in position to begin the fight. So let's go back to that thing. We're almost done. You can't engage in close quarters fighting unless you are in close. Using firearms is still possible if you're in close, but you'll be firing at point-blank range, which typically would be some sort of disadvantage when you're using a firearm at point-blank in other systems. And I don't remember whether the assets suggested that. There's nothing that I can see strike. So strike and clash. Okay, there's nothing currently that uses point blank range to suggest something different happens, as far as I can tell. So that when you're in close, but you'll be at point blank range, is it Gloomhaven or whatever? It is actually tougher. You know, the difficulty is more when you're at point blank range than if you're at range with a ranged weapon. Maybe I'm forgetting where that's at. I don't think that's anywhere. Yeah, okay, I'll have to think about that. That's something that's not clear. What is the advantage or disadvantage, which I assume is a disadvantage, of firing at point blank range? I would think you wouldn't get your wits. Normally with a ranged weapon you would fire with wits. But if you're in point blank range, I don't think you would be able to use wits to use. Okay, in a bad spot. When you get in position and score a miss, you'll put yourself in a bad spot. You might also decide that you are in a bad spot as an outcome when you pay the price. Your position is now +0, meaning that you can't apply stats to it. When you're in a bad spot, your foe will press their advantage, or you'll face environmental dangers. You probably need to deal with this immediate situation before you can try to get in position again. So you'd probably face danger or something, and then try to get in position if you succeed enough. Okay, so that's some interesting stuff. It's really, really cool. This positional map is it's juicy. It's so interesting to me. I'm so excited about this as far as adding this. And I actually had intended, when it was first tweeted out, I had intended to backport that back into Ironsworn as I was doing my regular solo playthrough. But I didn't. I haven't done another playthrough. Rush. Come here. Up. Come here, Rush. Hi. Here's Rush. Okay, so that's the playtest materials.